of this. If you're coming across us on recording, just know probably 5 years ago now, I started a group called Smart and Spiritual Women Seeking Financial Wellness. It's a private group for women only. And I strive in that group to just put ideas in front of people, especially women, about personal development, and not self-help so much, but the things that are going to actually maybe point the needle in a different direction than maybe you've been used to in the past. And so a lot of that has to do with just sort of getting your affairs in order. Before I was a stay-at-home mom turned divorcee, I realized I took a huge responsibility for my family's finances, including cutting corners and making sure that we were making enough to make ends meet every month. And so that was how I lived a lot of my life. So when I became a single mom, it became really easy to sort of transfer those sort of daily habits into taking care of just myself and my kids. But that meant I had to find a different job, increase my income, make that to be viable for a healthier lifestyle for all of us. So that said, that leads me to why I do leadership book club chats. I've never really ever offered one as a public event like I'm doing tonight. I've usually just offered them inside the group, but I thought it was a way I could start to expand my reach and really impact on our community. And so I had been given recommendation to read James Clear, Atomic Habits in the past. I bought it a couple of years ago. We were heavy into book club chats, and we were doing all sorts of things from Jen Sincero to Brené Brown to Glennon Doyle, mostly women authors. We were really focused on people who were authors who were really empowering women and uplifting them. My friend Leanna Tankersley has written a couple of titles that we've read together. I'm looking at some of them on my shelf right now. And to me, engaging around a book gives us a different focus, a different context for how we develop ourselves as women, as moms, as wives, as partners, as just people showing up in the world. So hopefully tonight is helpful to you wherever you are on your journey. I am looking forward to 2022. I'm going to take a poll tomorrow in our Smart and Spiritual Women's group to determine the first quarter book. Instead of doing monthly books, we're going to keep on this quarterly thing. So our March title, I have a big desire to read Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. That's her latest offering. But I'm also interested in continuing on with our habit conversation because Jen Sincero wrote a great book that I read and organized leadership book chat around, which was about being a badass. And so this new book that she's just released last December is called Badass Habits: Cultivate the Awareness, Boundaries, and Daily Upgrades You Need to Make Them Stick. So I kind of liked the sound of that for starting off 2022. So we may start with that one and second quarter hit Brené. But I love, I'm always open to suggestions as well, things that make us better leaders in our communities. All right, so to get things started tonight, I was asking everyone what oil they were using. I put inspiration in my diffuser. Inspiration is an oil blend from Young Living Essential Oils. You'll only hear me talking about Young Living. We've been with the company almost 15 years and just firmly believe that their products are superior in quality to most that are on the market. So if I want to set intention for a night, if I choose to bring about transformation and change in a real lasting way, I always try to anchor either a teaching or a practice or just daily decisions, right? In some sort of oil blend. Specifically, blends I think are powerful and have been created to be impactful, so that anchor can sustain and sort of keep me centered and balanced while my brain and my discussion may be going all of this sort of way. I have this sort of intention for the night to keep me balanced. So Christina offered just now that she is using abundance and believe to keep her anchored. If Molly, you want to use the chat tonight, you can do that to tell us what blend you're using to keep yourself anchored. I think that's a really, really key part of what we do to design and develop the to develop the experience tonight. So thanks for being on. And if you are catching us on replay, I'm super glad that you're here as well. And I'm also very thankful to Christina and Molly for giving their input, because this is going to be a chat of sorts. I brought some questions to sort of pop out there and let people discuss. And so if you, I appreciate that either live or in the chat as well. We'll read those chat responses so that they're recorded as part of our time together tonight. All right. Ground rules moving forward with Leadership Book Club, especially as it expands. This is a new format going public. So as it expands to a quarterly offering next year, I think some proper ground rules are about honor and respect. I'm wearing my Humankind shirt today as a reminder that we are kind humans who are humankind, and that we all come at our lives from different viewpoints and experiences. And so I think it's really important. We don't need to be nice. I think nice gets has kind of a bad reputation right now, but being kind means that you're honoring that maybe the disagreement or the distance between you and somebody else's point of view, but then also being able to share your own personal experience without fear of being judged or otherwise kind of trampled on. So we all bring that to the table. Molly, thanks for sharing that tonight you're using forgiveness and transformation. That's awesome. Those are awesome oil blends to use. I also brought the Divine Destiny collection to our chat tonight. Because I find that it has been a very grounding practice for me to use on a daily basis to kind of remind myself that I am creative, I am made in the image of God, and of course I am blessed. So yeah, I'll just start with a little daily divine as we're getting started tonight. All right, so to catch everybody up to speed, last 90 days challenge is all about creating new habits, small, tiny things that you can do to make a big difference. And I've had two Aroma Freedom sessions so far. One was focused on sort of preparing for the experience of transformation. The other one was on the experience of, the second one was on the experience of habit formation and assessing good habits that move us forward, and maybe bad, quote unquote, bad habits that keep us from achieving the things that we want to achieve. And the second Aroma Freedom session, and that's using essential oils in a prescribed order. The second one was intended to identify cravings or how our body needs certain things in our lives, and how we can interrupt the habit cycle to say no to the cravings that our bodies are experiencing. So those recordings are in my Aroma Freedom group. If you did not get to participate in those and you're interested in learning more, you can certainly join the group and grab those recordings. I know Molly and Christina are already in. And then the third one that's coming up December 22nd, it's a Wednesday evening, will be the Aroma Freedom focused on aroma wisdom and discerning for 2022, kind of where you're headed. Is there an action required in what you're doing, or is it a mindset that you are choosing? Instead of fearing the future, we're going to use the time together in Aroma Wisdom to sort of unpack the unhealthy fear to replace with a courage and strength and wisdom to be able to know the difference. So I love that new title from Dr. Purkis. Instead of being called the Doomsday Technique, it's now been renamed to Aroma Wisdom. So that'll be on December 22nd. And then the following week, we've got 2 vision activities as part of our larger Living Well Now community, both on Wednesday night via Zoom. And then if you live locally, I'm offering one at my house on Tuesday. So, All right, that's enough of the introductory comments. Let's go ahead and dive into this book, although I might let my dog out first because he's just whining incessantly. So just a second on that. Go outside. Okay. Okay. Real life, hashtag real life dogs need to go out. So that's how that rolls. Okay, so hold on just a second. Okay, so these are some overall questions to get us started in the discussion. And then there are 4 sections that we're going to talk about tonight. So you can write down the words habit, philosophy, personal, and motivation. And again, this conversation tonight is all about this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was one that I listened to more than I read the book, the pages. I actually accessed a lot of the resources that he has on his website at atomichabits.com. Before he wrote the book, he started as a blog author and newsletter author. So he has tons of old content and current content, of course, on his blog that you can access for more ideas and thoughts. And not only that, but I would say he also references where he got a lot of these ideas. So if you do find yourself wanting to know more about certain techniques, he actually tells you how and where to learn about it in a more deep way. So the parts that I highlighted in the book, though, are the things that pertain to my aroma freedom practice and how our brains process habits and shifts in habits and things like that. So begin with a couple of discussion questions. Again, use the chat or come live. What do you think the purpose of this book is? And what identity or how has this book changed the way you look at your own life or the concepts presented? So what do you think the purpose of this book is, and how has the book changed the way you look at your own life? So I'd love to hear like your perspective, and I welcome your voices in the conversation as well. I am a good listener too. I feel like sometimes I talk so much on these calls, it's better to just be silent. So Christina, I see you typing, but I might say, just say it out loud, girl.
So I think it's definitely designed to help people. I feel like the way he breaks it down and tells a little story, tells like what, like the science behind it, but then he'll also tell you like the breakdown of it. And for me, it was like very engaging and oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And then even as I was reading some of it, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. So I'm super excited to implement these. And I've already started little by little, but I definitely, it's to improve everybody because so many people get so caught up. And so it's to help you as you're going on this journey and everything. And I forgot the second part of the question.
How has the book changed any way that you look at your own life or the ideas?
Some of the things he said, it's definitely what I was lacking in my home life, in my daily routines. And I found myself in the downward spiral of getting stuck on Netflix or not going to the gym. And literally the gym is at my house. Like I have a gym at my house and I avoided it just because it was 15 steps that way as opposed to just going straight to my kitchen and like just certain things like that. So now it's like we've changed up little tiny things that help the habit and help everything. So it was really good. And now I'm like, oh, okay, I can improve this now. Or like as I read on, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like duh.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm curious about, like, say more about that, the environmental issues that were holding you back. Like, because he talks about how our environment so much shapes our habits, right?
Yeah. So he also talks about how like every habit produces multiple outcomes. So you just by simply putting out your workout clothes, or as soon as you get home, you change into your workout clothes, then not just simple getting in the routine of that's something that might take 2 minutes to do, then helps everything else because from that one good motion, then you have a choice. You can do another thing or another thing and it's either good or bad. And it can be this whole, like, he has this whole diagram in it. And it was interesting to see how the web goes of like good habits to bad habits. And you can literally see the bad habits go down or the good habits. Okay, you did good here. Okay, oh man, you did bad. Like you grabbed those Oreos on your, like, there's just certain things and it's so true, just a simple act of like he gives one example of the lady hailing a cab and the cab took her to the gym which then helped her do a 2 hour workout, but all these other things and her routine, it was hailing the cab, not like the other little things that she did. And so that is definitely true. So for here at my house, when we come in, we take off our shoes. And so then you're like, okay, now I'm comfortable. Or in the morning, like I have a coffee bar before my kitchen. So then I'll make my coffee there. So then I feel productive. So then it just kind of goes to everything else. But as I grab for the eggs to start making breakfast, I have my Ningxia red bottle. So then I'll grab my Ningxia, pour a shot as I'm preparing the breakfast. And then that leads to me getting our supplements that we take. So we're starting the day off good to have a good metabolism, to have a good immune system, which just then starts the day. So it's just little tiny steps and putting things like leaving the fruit out or preparing the fruit on the same day you go to the grocery store and have it in little bags. So then you have healthier snacks as opposed to I'm going to grab those Oreos, I'm going to grab whatever else. And so it's just kind of like little things that seem silly. Like he gives one example of when you leave the living room, like say you sat down to watch a movie, when you leave the living room, you straighten up all the pillows. And then as you're going to get in the shower, you wipe down the sink, you wipe down the mirror as you're waiting for it to heat up. Like just those little things are prepare you for the next time you come around. Oh my gosh, it's clean.
I
And
love
so
that.
all of that just kind of add up. And to some people might seem like no brainers. And then to other people, it's like, that is genius.
For
It makes
sure.
everything else so much easier. And
For sure. For
it's
sure. And I also love, so going along in that personal section about environmental issues, right? And solving those issues. Like for me, I found if I got out all my supplements in the morning and put them on my counter, I had to clear them at some point. So having them in a cup in front of me during the day meant I was then would have been way more consistent in taking them, and the other, and also, being part of a workout challenge, knowing that other people were doing the same workout and I was recording it in an app, those couple of things really changed the function for myself personally, about habits that I kind of was inconsistent about. But if I want to be a person who takes my vitamins and I want to be a person who works out regularly, then those are strategies that I have to employ now. So those are part of my my personal goals for sure. For sure,
and
for sure.
then he even said too, like if you just simplifying things, making things simpler, then makes it easier and makes the reward like and the outcome, like he lays it out so perfectly and it's like, okay, everything goes together. I loved it.
Yeah, so good. So good. Okay, so let's talk about habits, the section of habits. So one of the key takeaways that he's quoted often with is, if you just make 1% difference in a habit every single day, over the course of time, you have now compounded your self-improvement to be over 30% better than when you started. And I think when you're implementing that, but the question is, when implementing those 1% wins, those 1% improvement systems, hailing the cab, for example, setting my vitamins out, what are you going to apply to help you reach your ultimate identity or goals? And I also have to stop this for a second, because I also like that he said not everything has to be a goal. Like, it doesn't have to be an actionable something that you are striving for. It can also be how you are changing who you are, the identity of who you are. I like to say who you are becoming. So when implementing that 1% improvement system, what are you going to apply, or do you already have in your life that helps you reach your ultimate identity or goals? And Molly, I'm going to challenge you a little bit on this one, because I saw your response in a group about imposter syndrome. And a lot of people suffer with that we haven't fully arrived. And so somehow we have this level of perfection that we think others expect of us. And so I'm putting you on the spot, because I want you to speak to that a little bit on, you're at the beginning of a journey in some respects, in shifting mindset and in shifting habits. So how would you respond to that?
I do feel like an imposter a lot of times, because, I've gone into kind of a health and wellness type field. And when I stop and look at where I am, I don't feel healthy. I just don't feel that way. And so it's interesting how other people say, but look what you've already overcome. And it's like, yeah, and it's like, no, just take the compliment and know where you are now and where you want to be next week or next month.
Yes, Molly. And I know there's emotion in your voice. I'm just going to honor that for a second, that that if you need to have measurable goals, and this is kind of an Aroma Freedom piece too, if you choose to have measurable goals, we're going to add a new member to our room named Diane. If you want to have measurable goals so that you can see and track the progress that you are achieving or choosing to become, then put some numbers on it. If it is about how many times you drink, how many ounces of water you drink a day, as opposed to what you used to drink. Maybe it's a habit related to how many vitamins you're taking, as opposed to medications. Maybe it's a measurable content of how many steps you take in a day's time. Do you see what I'm saying? So that you can see those incremental changes, those 1% changes in your attitude and behavior marked out over time. Would that be a helpful step for you?
That is, and I started doing that with a 90-day challenge. Is I'm starting to break down kind of, okay, for me to personally think that I'm healthy or healthier than where I was last year. Okay, these are the steps I need to be making to get that by the end of the year. And then to start off the Slick Challenge in January, to then be able to go further in that, because of the changes that I've made in the last 90 days of this year.
Yes. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. And I just uploaded some habit trackers that you can download as well into that Aroma Freedom group. But let's talk for a minute. We'll come back to this because I want to welcome Diane, but remind me when we come back, I want to talk about how we break down those goals, because the steps that we need to be healthier is super broad. So I want to challenge you a little bit on narrowing that focus, and we'll come back to that in a second. But welcome, Diane, to our conversation. We're super glad that you're here tonight.
Thank you.
Yay.
I caught on because I was doing the audiobook and it had been in a circle. And I'm sorry, I belong to so many different groups. I'm trying to figure out how we connect.
I don't even know either. I was looking at my list tonight and I was like, I don't, maybe it was Aroma Freedom. Was it, are you in the Aroma Freedom
I
group?
am in Aroma Freedom,
Yeah.
HBR and ULA. So
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah. So we crossed with all those paths, all
Okay,
those
okay.
lifestyle, wellness, wholeness paths. Excellent. I'm really glad that you're here. I was looking at the RSVP list and I thought, well, I'm going to make some new friends tonight and we'll just pick up where we left off. So I'm really glad that you're here.
Thank you.
We just dove in a little bit on the content of the book, and more specifically, how were you already starting to see some changes in incremental ways, especially the part where he talks about 1% changes make such a huge difference compounded over time, as with most things. And so I'm also coincidentally kind of alongside, I have an Aroma Freedom group that I host. Free, well, it's a paid group annual membership that I host free sessions, monthly sessions, as well as challenges throughout the year. So we're just in our last 30 days of a 90-day challenge in terms of habit tracking and making plans for 2022. And so I'll say more about that at the end. But I was just going to challenge Molly a little bit on kind of this, let's break it down a little bit because it's one thing to say, I'm living healthier. And it's another thing to say, in these areas, I choose to see growth. So Molly, do you track with that?
I do. And like this week, when I started out on yesterday, was okay, this week I am going to drink at least 8 ounces of water before I drink my first Pepsi of the day. And I've started taking my supplements out of their bottles and putting it into the same kind of weekly thing that I have my medications, so that I can kind of track not only what I've been taking, but how consistent or not consistent I am. And this was a big eye opener, because I'm like, well, I keep taking these vitamins and I'm not noticing anything. Well, in reality, I really wasn't very consistent on taking them. And I was like, oh, I wonder what I was thinking when I thought I was doing this.
I love that honesty. I love that honesty of like, I thought it was working, but truth be told, I'm taking, I'm doing this habit 2 out of 7 days, or, one time when I, would like to see that increase to 3. And I think, as you mentioned, drinking the 8 ounces of water prior to having the Pepsi of the day, maybe a check sheet helps with that, or putting the water in front of the Pepsi in the refrigerator, whatever it looks like, so that you see it like you're doing with the vitamins. You see the consistency of whether you're doing that or not. I love hearing how you're already starting to problem solve what could be getting in your way. So those are great ways. Like, so if the goal then, right, if the goal is to be, well, let's define be healthier, right? If the goal is to have more energy, or to walk more, or walk further, or use less oxygen. I don't know all of your health needs, but if there are some of those things that can be managed with habits, then the Pepsi, or the water, the vitamins, and and maybe just the water and the vitamins may be the habits then that you're choosing to bring about to help those goals. So don't get too many and then give up.
Right. And I think I'm working on, for the Pepsi, the vitamins, walking a little bit more each day, and then doing my breathing exercise with this device the doctor gave me that helps you not only inhale but exhale, so that we can build up my respiratory system in hopes that I do get off the oxygen.
Yeah, good. So all like really intentional, and maybe it's minutes attached to the machine, the inhale exhale machine, or to the product. Maybe maybe it's not all the vitamins. Maybe it's their top 3 vitamins that you choose to take. Like, y'all, I have cabinets full of vitamins, and I can really only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is about the max for me on a day. And I could probably take in the uppers of 10 to 12. And I'm not talking individual supplements. I'm just talking in general, the type of vitamins that I'm taking. And so again, some days you'll take more, some days you'll take less, but the consistency of having those in your life, such a good idea. I love that. I love that. And then you're standing there, you're standing behind with those, like we talked about, the goal, the ultimate goal is to reduce oxygen. All of these things are going to help you do that. And you'll be able to measure your ability, right? The success of that based on when you get to reduce that.
Right. And, the measurability of it is really what kind of keeps me going to see, okay, I did drink less sodas this week. Let's see if we can cut it in half next week and drink that much more water. So eventually, hopefully by the first week of January,
Literally
Yep.
holding wine and water in both my hands, because that's my deal with myself as well. If I'm going to have wine, I'm going to be drinking water alongside of it. So it's not Pepsi.
That's perfect. I have my water bottle and my Pepsi right side by side. And so it's like, okay, which one should I pick up? And okay, we'll make a good choice this time.
Yeah. Or a choice instead of, again, instead of assigning a good, bad value, I'm making a choice to get further away from my goal rather than get closer to my goal.
That's true. That's a good way to think about it.
That's just a little twist on, especially my favorite one is when people say, I don't have enough time. It's the new adage is try saying, I can't make that a priority right now.
Right. And that's what it comes down to, is just making your goals, and particularly your health goals, a priority above, that cupcake that you really want at the store, or,
Yep.
and choosing to drink your water.
Yep. Well, and we know so much of those habits, the ones that are holding us back, are usually blocked with things that we like, comfort that we took when we were younger, or it gave us some sort of satisfaction. We talked a little bit about that with the cravings conversation in Aroma Freedom last month, and that idea that our brain locks into sort of this repetitive habit until we clear it and say that actually that old behavior doesn't, or that mindset or that thinking doesn't serve me anymore.
And I had a real eye-opening experience about that. About 6 weeks ago, I had gone for like 3 days without any soda. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And something happened and I got stressed out. And so then for the next 2 days, I didn't drink any water. I was 100% soda. And I'm just like, oh, now wait a minute. How did I fall off of the wagon? And it was like, hey, you got stressed. And so that's your comfort. That's your way to deal with the stress.
Yep. The stress, it was your cue, right?
Right.
Cue from the book. Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and also it's hard to make those changes in habits when you're surrounded by people who are also enjoying those comforts, or those vices or those old habits, or trigger or cue your brain to respond as it used to as well.
That's true. I hadn't really thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll start looking at that too.
Yeah. So under the topic of philosophy, in looking at this book, this question goes along with this. And Diane, if you feel like jumping in, I welcome you to do that. What cultural norms where you're from do you feel are an advantage or disadvantage to creating good habits? Like you follow the habits of your culture without even realizing it, or your community. It doesn't have to be necessarily culture.
one of the habits that I do often is well, fitness is what I love. So I don't know if you're referring to cultures and nationality, or culture in the fact that I'm just around
That one.
in the wellness industry. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how has that worked out for you?
Oh, fabulous. Because
Has that been something that was started in your family, or has it been something
Mhm.
you've kind of brought about into your life because of your interest?
Both. So 3 brothers. My mother was voted most athletic in high school. And then like, as I was growing up, she was actually titled World Water Aerobic Champion 3 years in a row. Like, so I'm like, she and I had been teaching fitness together and for years. So what I actually do intentionally is I hang around people that are athletically just a little bit above me, so I don't want to get stagnant. I don't want to feel like I, I mean, I lead people with in wellness, fitness, and body work. So I'm happy to be able to do that, but I also want to keep striving for that next step. There's a woman that I follow on social media, and she's 75 and just won a bunch of natural bodybuilding competitions. Yeah. So when I like have her picture come up on social media, I just like snap out of it, because I'm 56 and newly empty nester, and I'm ready to rock my best body. Like,
Woohoo!
I just like, I make a conscious effort to see and be around those that are doing it for that reason.
So just as an aside, my daughter competed in she finished her first Ironman 70.3 half Ironman this last
Wow.
weekend. She's
Oh,
she's
fun.
18, but if you want to talk about being around
Oh.
a community of all shapes and sizes, all ages,
Yeah.
all people who, obviously pros were there, but then
Mhm.
the rest of the crowd was just electric, right? To put
Mhm.
yourself in a place where, my sister-in-law said to me after the event, she's like, I think we could do this. We should do one of these. Let's sign up for one together. I was like, wow, you go, girl. Like I have that on my list, but not for a little ways, a little while from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that level up, that what's next, that's what's possible, and what am I capable of when I choose to level up. It's the same conversation about reducing oxygen as it is about increasing fitness. Like it's the same mindset that it takes to build those new habits, and finding the people that you want to follow that are doing what you want to do.
Yes. And being someone that's worked with bodies for a while, I do have this awareness that there is a level of it's kind of like an unhealthy habit. Okay, an unhealthy athlete is what I meant to say. So not to, but like I've done many triathlons, and I do that, and I do that because the variety is more fun, and then the end result of the event is just the icing on the cake. And to me, it doesn't matter the end result. I also know people that do a lot of running, but yet their body is not where they want it to be, because too much stress ends up being the body doesn't transform into what they need.
Yeah.
So we want to find that happy medium when we're looking at like.
Yes. Yeah. And so taking the goal and then breaking it down into the habits that make sense for that goal to rock your best body is going to look like nutrition. Probably it's going to look like, how to, properly build muscle and create that. I mean, obviously in the industry, I'm not in the industry, but I am around it enough to know that, those are things that you'll focus on as your habits shift and change. Empty nester, lucky girl. That will give you kind of a freedom here to make some different decisions about what you're doing. We're just launching for teenagers right now. It's exciting times here, always.
My goodness. I remember those years, And it really does go super fast because they shift into independent, and then next thing you know, it's just
They're gone. I know. She goes out and runs or does a 70.3 event. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess my work here is done. Have fun.
yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Christina, I'm so glad you wrote that in the comments about mastering a habit. The key is to start with repetition and not perfection. So, because otherwise, I mean, again, to your, example of I fell off the wagon and where did this come from? And, why did this happen? And now screw it. I'm finished. I'm going to keep doing the Pepsi, right? The repetition of bringing the water back the next day or having a little extra or a little less the next day, you don't have to scrap the whole habit. I think that's the other thing that happens in a 90-day challenge, or, we'll do sleek weight management in January as a Young Living team, just to keep our mindset focused on health and wellness. But like we talked about with that, it may not be the sleek piece. It may just be somebody's workouts that they want to do daily, or they want to start something that's good for them on a daily basis in January as well. So it doesn't it can look different for different people, but it's the daily consistency or the hourly or whatever. One of the examples he used was doing with the habit stacking. He talked about doing push-ups, like right before you get into bed. I don't think I could do that. That's not where they belong for me. But if I'm going to do a push-up habit, I'm going to figure out a timer on my phone, or I'm going to add it to the beginning or end of my workout. Today, I thought about it when I was doing planks between my reps or between my sets. And I was thinking, I used to do longer planks, and I said, but at least I'm doing them, like it was just like I was stacking them back into my workout rather than just, okay, well, I'm going to skip the plank today and move on to something else that's more fun. So, yeah.
Right. And the perfectionism is a big issue for me, because I'm like, well, I can't do it perfectly, so I'm just not going to do it.
Yes.
Like, no, you know that you can't walk a mile right now, but start by just walking to the end of the block and back.
Yeah. Anything that you could do. Yeah. Perfectly imperfect. Christina's holding up the water bottle. And he said, anything you can do in 2 minutes. Like that, anything that you can do in 2 minutes, like set a timer like that, literally 2 minutes walk. It doesn't even have to be, I like visual landmarks too, but it could just be 2 minutes, wherever that takes you to this part of the sidewalk. It doesn't have to be the end of anything. 2 minutes or 1 minute out, 1 minute back to start. Easy to fit in, because otherwise you will talk yourself out of it if you can't go the whole way.
Right.
Who was in a very, very similar circumstance to you, Molly, that she literally she would be out of breath walking to her mailbox, but she made it as a point to every week, okay, I'm going to walk to my mailbox, I'm going to walk back. And then she walked to the stop sign and then walked back. And then she walked 1 block around the block. And then she walked a little bit more, and her daughter was there with her as an encouragement. And then 8 months later, she did her first 5K. And when she looks back, she's like, it's just a 5K. It's nothing big. But when she thinks about it, 8 months prior, she could barely walk to her mailbox. And then it was to the stop sign. So just taking those little tiny steps. Then she did her first 5K, and it led her on a healthier track.
And Molly, it's totally fine if you never do a 5K. I'll give you permission to never do
Things. But I can relate,
she hit
because
her birthday.
That's nice. That's good.
it's only like 10 steps to the bathroom that's our master bathroom from my bed. And I couldn't make it there without having to stop and get some air. And now I'm able to actually walk to the other side of the house where the kitchen is, without having to sit down and catch my breath.
Yes. And Christina, I love that encouragement, like the little baby steps, and Molly, to think about how that little extra has paid off. And now it's out your front door, being careful on steps or anything like that, like it's one step and then the other. Okay. So let's talk about, as we've been discussing, measuring goals, and habit trackers. What are the tasks, or let's ask this one in motivation. How do you fine tune your skills or your goals? What are some other strategies that you use?
I can share one thing that I've been trying to focus on. So I'm currently doing like 40 plus hours of body work a week. And there's a reason for that. But my point is, I have this goal to, I have a lot of stuff I want to do online that will set up my my website and all the things. So I'm trying to manage when my energy is most focused. Now I have ADHD, so this is extra like layers of it. And so I'm playing around with the fact that I normally get up and do a mini workout and then go to my work, but I'm feeling like I need to switch, because if I want my mental energy, if I need that extra energy for my mental focus, I'm switching that.
Well, and making the decision to just my mom is going through some health stuff right now too, and we keep talking about being in touch with your body, you know, like the affirmation that she's been using when my brother asks her, where are you, she says, safe on the earth. Like, just imagining where, like, I don't have anywhere else to be except safe on the earth, you know, like just such a, and just one little phrase to sort of bring back that ADHD or that distraction or that busy that our brains get, to really feel it into our bodies too. So I appreciate that that extra effort toward body work is giving you that insight into your best moments or your most clear moments. That's huge. That's huge, because to not maximize that is a shame, right? Like, because then you just spend the night like trying to, like my brain on like all the tabs are open on my Safari, right? Like all the things I'm looking at.
That. Yeah.
I've been staring at making a plane reservation, I think, for 2 weeks now. So,
Oh,
but I keep it up because it's going to happen. You know, it's going to happen. I'm going to make that reservation. Good intentions. Christina, how about for you?
And then with part of motivation, it starts with mindset. So you have to have a goal, yes, to aim towards, but you also have to catch yourself on mindset. So I was trying to find it as we were talking, as you guys were talking. I was trying to find it where he, instead of like, oh, I have to do dishes, it's like, okay, I get to do dishes before I do this. Like, if you just change that one word, and then it's like, okay, well, this then leads to this. But it's just that one little mindset thing. And then changing that one word changes the way you feel about whatever it is. And so then it becomes, instead of like an anchor, it becomes more of a, okay, I get to do this. I have the opportunity to do this. And then it leads to better things, which for me helps my mindset, which helps my motivation, which helps me get going to
Which helps my family, which totally helps my family when I get to launch 4 teenagers into adulthood in the next 4 years.
Then with you get to launch those. So you have the opportunity to raise better humans, to bring better humans, to then help better humans.
Amen, sister.
The whole cycle.
I'm telling them that every single day, every day. Guys, I am so glad that hour went super fast. Did it go super fast for you? I know, Diane, you joined us a little bit later, but I'm really glad to know you and to hear your take on this, because I loved the different perspectives that it offered about everyone's journey. Like, we are each on a unique and special calling to what's next. And I think as a former teacher, one of my greatest values is lifelong learning and consistently having a growth mindset to level up what's possible instead of just what is. And so, so I'm really grateful for texts or books like what James Clear has put together in Atomic Habits. Some of it's a little heady. I found myself saying this one chapter could be an entire book by itself. Like, I can't believe this is smashed in with all of these other tips. So that's why I ended up spending a lot of time on the resources section of his website. Got, signed up for his newsletter. Obviously, I can't read those every day. I choose not to read those every day. It's mind clutter for me right now, but I pulled what I thought was important about breaking bad habits, assessing my daily habits, and all of these small, like kind of looks at habits in the last 60 some days, 66 today, means that I've got about 25 left to really work through where I see myself growing and going in 2022. So I know that that is true for you guys as well. And I'm sure if you want to come back and join in the fun in the first quarter, I'm not sure when our date will be. I'm going to guess end of February, beginning of March. And like I said, I'll do a little poll if we'll go Brené or Jen Sincero. Brené or Badass. I think those are going to be my choices. But I love being able to open up conversations like this to just help each person or support each person to just make the decisions that are right in front of them. My next Aroma Freedom session just is getting posted tonight. It will be on December 22nd. And I'm utilizing Dr. Perkis's Aroma Wisdom to help us evaluate maybe a little bit of where we came from in this conversation as we approach 2022. Instead of choosing fear in the new year, how do we choose our course and make a decision moving forward, kind of getting the junk cleared out, maybe even from the last couple of years that continues to hold people back. So it is my greatest privilege to be with you tonight. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. I'm super grateful. Yay. Diane, it was really nice to meet you too.
Thank you. Yeah, love